Edem Senanu, who is the co-chair of the Citizens Movement Against Corruption, then he's been following what you've been putting out there right now and the details as we have them. Senanu, thank you for joining us here on Ghana Tonight. As we're getting to see more detail about this NSS or the National Service Authority scandal and the records on the face of the forensic audit, which we have a copy of, it raises questions as to what could have emboldened the perpetrators to go to this extent. That is, if what we are seeing in this forensic audit is anything to go by.
Well, Alfred, this must be obvious to every citizen by now. You only go to that extent when you have every confidence that you will not be caught. The only reason why you go to this extent, and it's as long as the facts are accurate. This at this base is intentionality. It means there was criminal intent to the extent that the facts are accurate. It's greed. It's greed, especially in the context where you have every confidence that you will not be caught. Because if you know you're going to be caught, you will not do this kind of thing. So we see what the courts will say at the end of the day. But as long as the facts are accurate, and it is the case that they collected those money, so and enrolled in NSS, and she herself collected the money and utilized it. It's intentionality. That shows that there was criminal intent, and you only do that to the extent that you have every confidence that the system is not going to trip you. And so we need to pay attention to that. It's a reason why the issue of the specialized courts is so critical. And we need more than just one, several of them with a target of sitting daily. Make sure you have a target of 6 months. We know there will be some, 1 or 2, maybe it may go beyond, but that way maybe you can request for maybe additional 3 months maximum. But within 6 months, as is happening elsewhere, we should be able to discharge of such cases once the investigators, prosecutors, and judges have been trained. This, if it is right, is intentional.
The intentionality is where, when Dennis was running through it, the clear wording of this forensic audit points to that direction as well. But let's take a listen to the Attorney General last week on this National Service Authority matter and this forensic audit that had then led to an increase in the money that was lost from a little over 500,000 to, in fact, 500 million Ghana cedis to 2.2 billion cedis. Take a look at this.
In the case of the latter, we have filed charges against the former Chief Executive, Executive Director, Osea Sibe-Ntwi, and his deputy, Gifty Owari. Charges are being prepared against the rest of the public officers and the so-called marketplace vendors. In all, we intend to file about 10 cases in the NSA scandal and will use some of the public officers and vendors as prosecution witnesses. Now, this is a strategy that is working very well for us, and we intend to continue to use that strategy. In a situation where there is a small criminal among big criminals, and the small criminal knows a lot, it is better as a matter of prosecutorial strategy to use a small criminal to get the information in order to be able to succeed, and that is what I'm doing. Also, I wish to announce that the Auditor General has conducted a forensic audit into the NSA, the National Service scandal, and the total amount of money stolen or illegally spent now stands at 2.2 billion, and not the 548 million that was uncovered by my investigators as at June 2025. And then, ladies and gentlemen, I have here a copy of the Auditor General's report. Again, painstaking investigation is very important in criminal matters. And so, based upon what the Auditor General has done, and this is a forensic audit, okay? Forensic audit means that they've gone beyond what ordinary, auditing would have done. And so, we are going to, based upon this, in some cases, change the charge, amend our charge sheets in order to bring fresh charges.
Well, Mr. Senanu, so that's the Attorney General last week, that was the first time we got to know of this forensic audit that had then uncovered more alleged malfeasance in this what he described as a criminal enterprise, increasing that figure from a low of 500 million to 2.2 billion in this National Service Authority scandal. Begs the question that every year we have the Auditor General conducting audits on these institutions. This time he had to take another layer of an audit, that is a more deeper audit process, a forensic audit, to uncover what we are hearing now. It would not be wrong for any of our viewers or for us to then begin to think that a lot of water would have gone under the bridge unnoticed, or we have really lost a lot of public funds because we haven't conducted forensic audits in some instances in the past, is it not?
You are right about that. I remember I was pointing out on Saturday when I was on your platform that with the transition of the past government, all the officials were supposed to, senior officials were supposed to have declared their assets, the final state. And that if anyone, first of all, the question is, have they done so? That in itself is a whole investigation. How many of those who were in office and at the end of the tenure were supposed to have done that to tell us this is where they find out their assets now? But more than that, has somebody made the effort to validate? Are we cross-checking? And it might open a Pandora's box. It's the same case here, that there may be many cases, and simply because an audit hasn't highlighted it or somebody has not reported it, somebody who has some of the information. And ideally, the way to deal with that is the internal audit. One of the key things simply is that we need to decouple their current system where they are paid by the same taskmaster, the one that they are supposed to review, monitor, and raise questions and red flags. The same person is the one who has control over your salary, your perks and privileges. The likelihood is that even if you find something, you will not make too much of a fuss about it. So we need to change that institutional arrangement if we're going to get good results from the internal audit system. And it's by far the front line. The first line of defense against corruption really is the internal audit system. And we need to apply our minds to restructuring it so that it is fit for purpose.
I see. I hear you talk about asset declarations. So the suggestion is that because of these revelations we are seeing in this number of instances, National Signals Bureau, National Service Authority, and then the latest being this buffer stock, and we'll get to that because the Attorney General has now then filed charges against the former buffer stock CEO. We'll tell you about it shortly, so stay with us. All of these instances, you say, Mr. Senanu, should trigger a call to look into the asset declaration forms of the former government officials in the previous administration, as to exactly which assets they declared in their forms?
The level of the impunity tells you that many people strongly believed that they will not be caught. So there are two things. One, if they are government appointees, they probably thought that their government will not be removed. They were quite certain, we are going to be here for quite some time. But beyond that, much more substantively, was the fact that they believed that they would not be caught. Because you don't add yourself to lists like that. You don't do those kind of obvious, in the public glare actions if you believe that somebody can hold you accountable. And to that extent, the likelihood is that there are many more such instances that have transpired. And only time will tell. But I think that much more fundamental is between the external audits done, the internal audit systems must be strengthened to work. And it should be said that the internal auditors don't feel obligated, or what's the word? They don't feel like they have a certain allegiance, or they are, incapable of raising issues because their lives and livelihoods and sustainability depend on the person who they are supposed to be, auditing. So we need to change that system if we're going to get better results out of what we have put in place.
And Mr. Senanu, appreciate you for this. And